Hi, everyone. I'm Kay, and this is Crossborder. We created this podcast to bring you stories from creators, entrepreneurs, and industry experts doing fascinating things abroad. We've got a great lineup of guests for you, so hit the like button and the follow, and we'll see you here soon.
Okay, Kay, how did you go from leading marketing at an investment bank to hosting a podcast?
Suddenly. Very suddenly. I I've always been involved in creative projects, even for the 10 years I worked in finance. I always, had my hand in whether I was taking a class on making music, tried to launch a startup. I was always doing something, to have a creative outlet. So, when the time came for me to leave, it was kind of clear, to me what I wanted to do. I wanted to go and dive in and kind of follow my passions, fully. So I took some time to reflect on what my actual skill sets are. And it became clear to me that it was just putting things together, having a vision, and then bringing it to life. And I wanted to tell stories about people. So I decided a podcast was the best way to do that.
Okay, but let's talk about this topic of cross-border. Like, how did you come up with it? Why? Why now? What does it mean to you?
I came up with the Crossborder Podcast because I, especially in London, kept running into people that, like me, identified with multiple places in the world. Born in one place, grew up in another, studied in another, and now working and living in a completely different place. And then when you try to answer the question, where are you from? You're like, wait a minute, where am I from? For me, it's really challenging to answer. Born in Lagos, I feel like a Chicago and New Yorker, but I love London and I'll always have a piece of London in me. I studied in Paris, though. So I think being cross-border to me means leaning in and appreciating, your intersectionality and your multiple identities.
I love that. Okay, and where is cross-border going? Because you're talking about we're moving this ship. Where is it going? Tell us about your next kind of trip.
I see cross-border being a global community of immigrants, expats, travel lovers, anyone who appreciates being and spending time outside of their home and learning about other people's culture. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you're kind of running away from your home. I'm very proud to be Nigerian and I'm very proud to be American. But I see cross-border as, recognizing that we all have, we all contribute so much to the societies that we live in. And I see it as, I see this platform bringing people together online through this podcast, but also bringing people together in various cities around the world for events, for all sorts of events, artistic events, cultural events, events around business and commerce, because ultimately, while around the world we are seeing maybe this shift to populism and nationalism, but ultimately there is beauty in, sharing your culture and collaborating with your neighbors.
Are you inspired post-elections to stay out of America?
I will always love America.
I love that.
I will always love America. I think, I was born in Nigeria and I fully believe that the American dream is alive and well. Having seen the benefits that, my family as an immigrant coming from Nigeria to the US and being able to improve the quality of our lives and our family members dramatically in just one generation, I'll always believe in the beauty of the American dream. And yes, our country will go through challenging times. I think we'll always take steps forward and steps backwards, but that doesn't deny, I think, the beauty of, the democracy that we've built and the opportunity that the country gives people to improve the lives of their family members.
I love that. I love that you're like embracing that.
Yeah. I love the country, but also, America's going through a challenging time. America's going through, a period of, potential renaissance. Who knows? But, I think looking at the process, we have to have respect for the process.
Yeah.
While it might not be the outcome that, half the country wanted, it is the outcome that we have.
Talk to me about living abroad, those highs and lows. How do you know when it's time to leave? How do you think about, okay, maybe I want to go back. Maybe I want to stay here and really lay down roots. How do you think about that process? What's that experience been for you?
For me, it starts with understanding why you're abroad. Before I left New York, one of my favorite cities on earth, to move to London, one of my smartest friends, told me, he asked me, he said, why are you moving to London? What are you hoping to get out of it? Because part of being an immigrant or an expat, whatever you want to call yourself, is appreciating that it's going to be hard. It's going to be lonely. And there are people who will make you feel like other. There are people there who will make you feel like you don't belong. So in those times, in those periods, you have to really think about, why am I here? And what I always went back to was a couple things. I'm here because I'm on a personal journey of growth and development. I'm also here because, as great as New York City is, I wanted to know London deeply. I wanted to establish deep roots in London. And I wanted to experience, living in another one of the greatest cities on earth, I wanted to have it all. So it was a bit selfish interest, but it was a bit of that. And, I think London is probably all the cities I've lived in, London is the most challenging city to live in for various reasons. The weather, the food, the culture, British culture is notoriously not as welcoming as American culture. But, along that journey, I think I've made incredible friendships, developed, incredibly, made tremendous strides in personal development. And so I think you eventually, if you understand why you're here, and you can always kind of think back to that, you'll always know whether you've arrived and whether it's time to go or not. For me, I've been here 3 years, and it feels like I could stay a bit longer, but it also feels like if I left, it would not be so bad.
So you're going to Lagos.
I'm on my way.
What's that going to be like?
I'm on my way to Lagos, Nigeria. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be another level, another stage of growth. London was the segue to that, though,
The build-up.
Exactly.
Going from New York to London to Lagos is such a fascinating journey. But also, it's back to Lagos for you, because were you born there?
I was born there. So this has been a full circle journey across the Atlantic and back home. It's a homecoming of sorts. But I think London prepared me for that, because London is such a multicultural, I feel London is, feels inherently more global than New York. It's concerned with things, beyond, the UK, right? It feels very international here, and having such a strong African presence here has helped prepare me to move down and live in Lagos. It's scary. It's going to be scary. It's going to be new. It's going to be challenging. But I think kind of London prepared me for that.
Okay, final question. New York or London?
Both.
It doesn't work like that.
Why not?
I love that. That's the cross-border, heart. That's the spirit. Why not?
Exactly. How about this? New York in fall and spring. London/Europe
in the summer. Because a London summer is elite.
When it shows up.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Otherwise, you can just hop on a plane and go down to the Mediterranean.
That's true. Yeah. We will say right now, we are going through darkness.
Yeah. Ugh.
Can you explain London right now?
It's
briefly?
bleak and chilly.
Dark. Taking vitamin D pills.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much, and thank you, Helen, for the interview.
Enjoy. I think you got some good content.
Yeah.
Good job.